This is Talking My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, just another voice in the wilderness. I want to talk about if politics is the exercise to determine who gets what, when, how, and why, what is the role of economics? To me, the answer is simple. The role of economics and the role of the economists is not to tell us how the economy works or has to function, but to use intellectual, theoretical, and technical knowledge to design the framework that helps what is decided politically to be the economy. What the economy is supposed to be or must be is decided politically. Because first, there is no such thing as economics. There is only one thing: political economy. Economics, it's first is not a science, okay, and it's always biased, and most of what is supposed to be it is most of what we understand as economics is the defense of a specific system that's called capitalism. It's not the market economy, because there is this confusion that capitalism equates the market economy. Capitalism, the market economy is older than capitalism and is not capitalism. Capitalism is a system of accumulation, is a system of power grab, privatization of everything, monopolization, cartelization. It's not capitalism is not exactly is a political system that instrumentalizes the market economy to benefit the oligarchy, to benefit the groups in society that are the most benefited, the ones that get the most benefit out of that system. So it's not a democratic system by any means. It uses the political frame of political liberalism in order to tell us a lot of stories about liberal democracy and voting and this and that, which has some positive features. Okay, this is not about saying that even capitalism is everything bad about the capitalist system. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that the capitalist system and the economics, most of the schools of economics are based on this idea of free market and this idea of private initiative and this and that, but in the end is a class. That's why they hate Marxist economics, or other economics that have a different approach, because the capitalist system are supposed to be the default system, the system that cannot be challenged. So therefore, the existing schools of economics, they are not useful because they are tools of a political system that we are supposed to take for granted, that cannot be challenged. Nobody expects that engineers and architects and other professionals, which in many cases are much more science-based than economics, to dictate the policies of what of which bridges or roads or schools or hospitals or other needs that every society has, to which are the priorities, the political priorities, because they are technicians, okay? They are supposed to give according to their abilities and to the limits of the materials or whatever it is, or the morphology, geological issues or whatever. They are supposed to give the limits of what is possible. And even I think economics is not good at that, because again, engineering will tell you the limits, the physical limits, but economics is ideological. That's the problem with economics. It's always ideological. So therefore, economics is not, cannot be taken. It's not supposed to give you, even telling you about limits. You have the modern monetary theory, MMT, which tries to explain. That's what the role of this body of knowledge, to tell us how modern money works, how does a fiat currency works, and that tells you about the potentialities of holding a sovereign currency. Okay, this is an explanation of how the sovereign currency works in modern times. This doesn't tell you about what should be the economic policy. That is political. It's not again, economics. It's not as technology. By the way, that those that try to say that, like Peter Thiel said, that technology should replace politics. Nothing replaces politics, because politics is before everything. Politics is that exercise of the distribution of power and wealth. That's why it's very important to understand that organizing a society, it needs to be taken into account. Who exactly, again, who gets what, when, how, and why. Also, we have to ask why. Because you can use economics to justify a certain order, not to have a good economy or a good society or a functional society or even a functional economy. But it is going to be helpful. It's going to help specific groups to take advantage of a system in order to accumulate wealth, usually by codifying into law, against the role of law, codifying into law the what what allows them to accumulate that wealth, that disparity, that inequality that allows certain groups to accumulate based on the myth of meritocracy. As I said before, merit exists, but meritocracy is just a belief system based on the weaponization, the moral weaponization of merit, to tell you stories that they might seem to make sense, but they are mostly fraudulent. And most of economics is a fraud. That's the point. And economists are the ones that have the role to lie, to disinform, to instrumentalize, to weaponize the discipline of economics, not to use it to make for a more functional economy or a more functional society, or for the well-being of or for the collective well-being, or for a better environment, or for whatever. It's exactly the opposite. They are part of the class war. They are part of those. They are one segment of the professional managerial class that are on the side of the Plut oligarchy. They are part of this of extracting wealth from the economy upwards through many ways. And in these days, especially in the West and the United States and the United Kingdom, through finance, through the financialization of the economy, the financialization of the ecosystem services, which means the financialization of nature. By the way, by commodifying and financializing everything, they just make the economy not work. They need to impose austerity. They don't need it. I mean, they need it in a certain sense. They have to, in order to discipline us, to make our bargain power weaker. Austerity is about discipline, is about coercion, making us weaker and afraid and anxious. So the role of economics is really is ideological, is theological, all right? It's supposed to give you an order. You know, that's why you cannot take, I mean, you see these people of different schools of economics, Austrian economics, and then Keynesian economics, neoclassical economics, this and that. And especially most of them, they say the same thing. I mean, the Keynesians are more for the state intervention and more spending in allow the government to have a role in the economy, and the other ones is the opposite. But this is the thing. These people, us, you know, we the many, the ones that have to work hard to survive in this system. We need to understand what economics is. Our political choices need to be, we need to understand what money is, how money works, what's the role of the state, what's the role of government, what is the role of politics, what is politics, and what is the role of economics. Are they helpful? Do they help for good choices, or are they instrumental to further, to deepen the exploitation, to justify the austerity policies and all the rest, to take away every single safety net by appealing to make the state work better. This is all lies. This is deception. Deception. The role of these ideological manipulations, and it's to divide us, to make us believe that the state doesn't work, and capitalism is the market economy, as if we cannot have a socialist political system with a market economy, for example. That's why they try hard to say that China, I bought into it myself, China is a capitalist system. No, China is a socialist political system with a market economy. That's why we must not confuse market economy with capitalism. Any system, any political system can have a market economy. The problem with capitalism, as I said before, instrumentalizes the market economy in favor of the oligarchs, in favor of a class of wealthy people that controls politics through the control of economics, through the control of the cultural system, through controlling everything. So that's what we have in the West. Under the guise of democratic values and these freedoms and this and that, we have a system that is the whole system, socioeconomic, political, ideological, and sociocultural, is only one system with a mass deception. It's a web of deceit that keeps us, that we just are going further and further into the rabbit hole of not understanding how economic. We don't understand. I mean, we understand, but there's so much confusion and division of politics and economics that it's very difficult for us to discern how and why could we have a political system and a political economy that, in my opinion, should be based on two very important words or principles. There is sufficiency and reciprocity. That's what an economy should be. Okay? In my opinion. And by the reciprocity, I'm thinking about reciprocity amongst us and in our relation with the larger environment. Because we are in a relation with that environment. The biosphere, the hydrosphere, the geosphere, the atmosphere. You know, all these parts of the ecosphere, we are in a humanity is in a relation with it. Therefore, that relation must be founded in reciprocity. And thus, an economy only makes sense as a sufficiency economy, not a superfluous driven economy. Why should we? By the way, this mindless consumption and this society of the spectacle, and it just transforms us vanity, infantilization, imbecilization becomes a thing, and they want it like that. They want it like that because it makes us more easy to control. While we are distracted, while we are always looking for distraction, for diversion, because we need, to consume, to build meaning, to search for meaning in these activities. In following celebrities, in looking for these role models that should be, in so many cases, that should be despised. Honestly, they have nothing to teach us. They are used. They are, these people are very useful to distract, to imbecilize and infantilize us, not to make us more aware, not to allow us to develop our critical and analytical thoughts, thinking, not to engage with each other to look for solutions that serve us all. Nothing. Not to understand economics, not to understand politics, nothing. It's just distraction. It's just that you waste your life by giving your time. Time is life. We need to understand that. The way we use our time is very important to what we expose ourselves. None of us want to be used and abused, I guess. None of us want to be deceived. Nevertheless, our behavior in this type of society is as if we are looking all the time to be deceived, to be instrumentalized through the weaponization of values and principles and consumption, by acquiring habits that in some cases they become addictions, like becoming addicted to convenience, for example. And then we just become very shallow. We do not understand the relations and the connections. We always think we do. That's for sure. But that's but that's one thing is what we think we understand. Another thing is really understanding and having context and having historical context and understanding the concepts and how they relate to each other in order to have a body of knowledge, a body of understanding that is not delusional. This requires work. This requires study. This requires self-analysis, introspection. But we as sociocultural beings need to we need to train these skills. Those skills that we take as granted, they might be innate. Some of them are innate, but they need to be developed, trained, understood, how they work. How do we acquire knowledge? How that knowledge and information is transformed in our subconscious mind into narratives that frame our identity, that become the foundations of our psychosociocultural identity. How does that work? Why do we think? Why do we think or believe or act or behave the way we do? We need to ask those questions. And it might seem that this is nothing to do with economics and politics. No, this is everything is in a relation. As I try to do my best to explain it, no, nothing exists. I mean, no, it's not how I want to put it. Everything is and exists as a process, as a system, and in a relation with something else. That's how we need to understand life and nature and humanity, and it's through an holistic process, an holistic understanding where processes, systems, and relations are always there. If we do not want to think, if we do not, if these things are irrelevant or negligible for us, I think we are condemned to be always to waste our lives by being with the role of useful idiots that easily become cannon fodder and expendable peons, because sometimes we do not even understand who is controlling us, who is pulling the strings inside our own mind, because we think the opinions are ours, because we don't understand how our opinions are put together. What's the role of the environment? What's the role, how we understand economics, how we understand politics, how we understand culture, and how we understand our social condition. It's all part of the same problem that we cannot that we need to develop this conscious process. This is a transformative process, conscious process that when we engage in it slowly, it transforms us. Our awareness becomes more present, when because we start to detect more easily fallacies, logical fallacies, We understand language framing, how metaphors are used to manipulate us. We understand political manipulation it becomes easier for us to spot these liars, these manipulators, the PR machinery, the propaganda. Are we immune? No, we won't. It will not work. We will always be vulnerable. That's why we need each other to correct each other, to help, to cooperate. We need trust. We are not better than anybody else. We are just different. We have, the process by which we grow, we evolve intellectually and cognitively and psycho and all this is a process again. Therefore, we are in different stages, and it goes up and down. This is not just something that this evolution, if you want to call it like that, is not like is not always going up. And we are always correcting ourselves in terms, because it's how it works. That's why it's not about, but it's necessary. If we talk about if we care about freedom and human dignity, and if we care about this life, this phenomenon, this amazing, this, it's so, there is nothing that is created by human beings, in arts, engineering, technology, science, nothing, literature, poetry, that compares to the when we ask, there are details and there's so much beauty in nature that and the thing, all things are in a symbiotic relation and interdependence. This interdependency, and it's amazing. There's nothing we have created so far, and we will never be, because we are part of it. Our beauty, or our ability to produce aesthetics, and for aesthetics and ethics and science and politics and everything else, that comes from there. The roots. Where are our roots? So in terms of economics, there is I believe in socio-ecological economics, not in ecological economics, but socio-ecological economics. That's I even recommend. I cannot remember his name right now. Is an Austrian. He teaches in the Wien Universitat. What's the name of him? Oh my gosh, I cannot remember it right now. But he teaches socio-ecological economics. I truly like it. His work is very important in allow. It's very helpful to allow us to understand what should be a socio-ecological economy. So this is the point is that we need to be more careful in the way we, because internet is full of people that are supposed to be authorities, experts in in every field you can imagine, and I listen every day to people, to a diversity. I really listen to a diversity of. I don't follow specific, and I'm always looking to people that have a new for me at least perspective, because it allows me to open a new window. It's very useful that you open new windows, and we do it through others, through the knowledge and experience of others. That's how it works. It's not only for looking that we. I mean, there is a mentality that we are always kind of looking for flaws. No, we should find. If we find flaws in other people's how they think or how they frame something, it's important, and it's very good that it happens. But we need to know and to explain why it is a flaw. That's the main point. It's not just to look for it in order to criticize it. No, we need to understand those flaws, to give them context, and to try. It's not about criticizing only for criticizing. Criticizing always needs to be to acquire a better understanding, because in the end it's about sharing our thoughts, is sharing and being always open to correct ourselves, and this needs to be trained. Again, these features of a being like us, a sociocultural being like us, they need to be trained. I mean, it's like good habits. You need to train them. If you want to change your behavior, you need to train it. You need to think about it. You need to be conscious that you want to do it, and you act upon it. And this is true for everything. For our habits of thinking, of framing things. This is always something that we are. It's a work in progress that we need to be aware of. Otherwise, we always can be manipulated and deceived. But if we do not train ourselves to be more resilient and have building this awareness, this conscious process, transformative process, that we are aware of it, that's what consciousness is about. Sometimes people think about consciousness being something. No, consciousness is the awareness that is you, that is thinking, and you know the consequences of things, and you are aware of those things, and you relate things to, you connect the dots and everything else, and that is consciousness. It's not some moral superior thing. The end is to be that we really build that it's to train our empathy and compassion and trust and reciprocity and cooperation. Okay, that's true. That's how we achieve moral. We build as moral beings. We build morality as a relational process by training these features that are part of the human nature. And that's why we are political beings more than. That's why politics is much more it's above economics. And it's politics that politics is the decision making process. Okay? And economics or engineering or sciences or whatever it is, or technology, is what it's the means by which we will achieve or will materialize the political decisions, not the other way around. So this is how, I mean, this is just a little bit, a little. This is one. You know, this is always, as I usually say, this always needs to be what I try to achieve with my monologues is a conversation. I'm not lecturing. I'm trying to incite people to enlarge their horizons. You know, to defy ourselves, to defy our convictions, to defy our certainties, because there is no other way. We need to build an internationalist view of economics, of civilization, of societal civilization, of new civilizational paradigm. I call it ecological, holistic civilization, not only ecological. I want to emphasize this, there are many people talking about ecological civilization and talking about how to this and that. It has to be holistic. And holistic, why? Because it is a political project that then it's, as being political project, it has to be economic, cultural, social, you know, everything in it, ecological, okay? So it has to be everything in it. It has to be holistic. And it has to be internationalist, because it doesn't work. You cannot have an ecological, holistic civilization that is only applied by a few countries. It has to be, if possible, at the global level. So we need an international frame of work that allows the development, the transformation, the economic transformation, the cultural transformation, the ideological transformation through this political project to become reality. Okay? And we really need to have this universalist view of humanity, in spite of our differences, cultural differences, ethno-racial, religious, whatever. We need to have a universalist view of humanity. We are all brothers, in fact. We are not supposed to be a big happy family, but we are supposed to be a family nonetheless. Okay? Because you know, every family has problems. So this is not about being a happy family forever. It's just about that we really we really try to understand the limits of our socio-cultural condition by building a political system, as well as economic, cultural, socio-cultural system, and ecological, that it really respects who we are as a species, instead of forcing us to adapt and transform to a system that was created, that was developed by the ones, the worst amongst us, which means the people with the traits that are they are sociopathic, the sociopathic, psychopathic traits, narcissists, opportunists, megalomaniac people. Those have the ones, the system we have the political, economic, and civilizational system, this imperialist civilizational system that we have, was created, was developed, and established because we allowed these people to take over. And that's the paradigm we have. That's an anti-human paradigm, a dehumanizing paradigm, a paradigm that destroys our humanity instead of building it. And we, and this, and the principles, and the rules, and the morals, and everything else, we are indoctrinated and instrumentalized by them to make us believe that we have this, it is innate, this the pursuit of self-interest, and all this rubbish that we are supposed to believe, that we are supposed to taken for granted as part of the evilness of our species. This is the reality, and we cannot change it, and it has always been like that. This is the lies, and unfortunately, too many of us believe in them, in spite of the evidence that we could not even survive as a species if it was true. Because the survival of the human species was based on the ability to feel compassion and empathy, and to trust, and to cooperate, and to reciprocate. This was the base, not the pursuit of self-interest. This is very new. But supposedly, we are supposed to understand it as the main feature that defines the human condition. Isn't it interesting? I would like you to think, to give some thought about it. Thanks for listening. I will be back soon.